Hey, y'all, what's up? No, we'll do the major arcana. All right, so I guess this one will be about the major arcana. The major arcana does have a story behind it. It's called the Fool's Journey. I have material on that. I'm not going to get into the Fool's Journey in this particular workshop, but I am just going to talk about the major arcana and just give you an overall understanding of my perspective on what the major arcana is, right? The cards, the meanings, and how we're going to utilize them. So, a deck of tarot cards, for the most part, are, I believe, it's 78 cards. 78. Let me do my math, make sure it's right. 56, 22. Okay, yeah, 78 cards altogether with 22 major arcana cards and 56 lesser arcana cards, okay? Major arcana cards deal more on a soul level, a soul path, a soul journey. The lesser arcana cards, which consists of court cards, the suits, those are more detailed. They get into more detailed areas in life and things like that. The major arcana are represented by figures or symbols. But like I said, they're a story and they provide a guideline or a journey, right? But I'm not going to touch on that journey just yet. Okay, I just want to introduce y'all to the major arcana. So these are my cards, Urban Mystic Tarot. There's only one. I have not made them in mass production or whatever. I just wanted to kind of get the feel and the vibe of the cards before I made more and before I put these out into production. And I have to finish the lesser arcana cards, which I haven't even gotten there yet. It took me a while to make these. All right, so the first card of the major arcana, it starts with a 0, which is interesting because literally when we think of numbers and we thinking of something like numbers are meaningful and how we start a journey, we think we start with number 1. However, we start with 0 because 0 is a placeholder. It is the beginning of the numbers, and so 0 starts the journey. And so this is the Fool card, right? The 0's here. This is the Fool card. It's an air sign. I can't remember specifically what planet this is ruled by. Forgive me, but we're not going to get that deep into it yet. So the Fool represents a journey, as you can see on my card. Usually in the other cards, there'll be a dog on here, but this is my deck, so I didn't put a dog on there. It is, when we generally look at a Fool's card, like if I was to pull out the Hermetic deck or the Rider-Waite deck, they would have a dog on there, right? I chose to have, instead of the dog, I put a guardian angel, all right? Because the Fool represents you embarking on a new journey, doing something new, not having any clue, any direction of where you're going, what's ahead, what to expect. You're on a journey, right? And so the Fool represents the journey. It represents understanding that you need to have faith. You don't know where you're going. She's going south, right? That's all she knows. It says new start, new exit, right? Sometimes you don't even know what direction you're going, right? With the Fool, but you do know that everything's okay. You're going to make it. Everything will be provided for you. And just to continue on the journey. So that is, I'm going to take off this filter is killing me, y'all. Okay. Let's take it off. All right. So yeah, the Fool represents the journey that we're about to take, right? The next card is the Magician card. And the Magician represents having all the tools that you need, communication tools. The Magician is ruled by Mercury. I do remember that. We've got the Ace here in this picture. We've got a Magician. We've got a phone. We've got a gateway. The Magician has a wand. There's a rabbit, right? So this card indicates, whenever you pull this card, that you have everything that you need on the journey that you're about to embark. All right, which was the Fool's card. It was the first card that told us we were on a journey. This is letting us know that we have all the tools and the resources that we need to move forward in our journey. Okay, this is the Magician. Number 1. Number 2, we have the High Priestess. The High Priestess is ruled by the moon. All right, it's a water sign card. And here we have a High Priestess with her wand, and it's glowing in between 2 pillars with some books here. So the High Priestess represents balance, represents being in the middle, represents water, represents emotions, represents having knowledge, wisdom, emotional maturity, right? So the High Priestess is representing all of those things, the balance in between duality, right? Next, we have number 3, which is the Empress, right? The Empress. The Empress represents fertility. It represents life. I can't remember for the love of me what this planet is. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, she represents life, fertility, just things blossoming, growing, relationships forming, everything at birth. You see here, it's bunnies at the bottom, representing fertility. And this is not, yes, actual fertility, but just metaphorical too, as far as just birthing new situations, new things, just birth in particular, right, in general, for the Empress. And it's 3s. Notice also, if we go back to the numbers, 2 was a duality for the High Priestess, is also represented in Roman numeral form. Magician, 1 magician. Okay. 3, we have fertility. If you were to move these 3s, you can kind of make a TP or a triangle with 3s that's structured, but in a 3-dimensional kind of way, right? Next, we have 4, which is the Emperor. This is ruled by Aries. And basically, the Emperor represents, it is a paternal father figure. It represents masculinity. It represents authority. But I also love the Emperor card because, hey girl, just because it's masculine doesn't mean that it can't be soft. And so this is why I chose the particular image that I did of a black man holding a baby, right? Because even though the Emperor is masculine, it's authoritative, it's still caring, it's still a nurturing energy, right? And so that is what the Emperor, number 4 card, stands for in our major arcana. The next one, number 5, we have the Hierophant. And I like this card. Traditionally, it's represented by like a bishop or somebody who looks like a pope or somebody. And the Hierophant to me represents our ancestors. It represents all the tradition. You notice here I have a candle burning. We have a black man sitting, and he has behind him, it looks like his own guide, right? And his own ancestors. And so the Hierophant represents our ancestors. It represents traditions, values that we don't let go of and that we continue to have. Okay? The next card we have is the Lover's card. The Lover's card represents relationships, not just couple relationships, relationships with everybody, yourself, just relationships in general. Here I have Cupid here. We have the couple walking down the street. Next, we have the Chariot. The Chariot represents a journey. It's generally expressed by a chariot, but I chose to do a race car driver. She's a woman, and she's aiming for the prize. And so the Chariot kind of represents that drive, needing to stay focused, needing to stay determined, keep your eye on the prize, just tunnel vision, getting where you need to go for whatever success you need, okay? That's what the Chariot kind of represents. Next we have the Strength card. Literally, it represents strength. We see here, Leo's here. It's the number 8. And as you can see, the whatever exercise she's doing, it's kind of creating the 8 figure. We have a lion here. It also represents boundaries, territory, but just overall strength. 9, we have the Hermit, which is a crab. We also see her. She's kind of here by herself, secluded, thinking statue. And it kind of represents going within yourself and pretty much turning into a hermit, going within, looking within. Okay. The Fortune card. I've got it represented by money. She's in a casino. So the fortune is pretty much, it's not really luck, but it kind of is a little bit. It also kind of represents luck. It kind of represents the universe is in your favor. Good things are going for you. So that is what the Fortune card kind of represents. And next we have the Justice card, which is represented by Libra. And basically the Justice card represents justice. It represents being fair. It represents being right, integrity, doing the right things when no one's looking. It just represents being an advocate for something, supporting something, being there for somebody. Yeah. Next, we have the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man represents sacrifices completely. It represents sacrifices. What are you willing to sacrifice to get to what you want? Yeah. Next, we have the Death card. You see here, I have a baby and I have a skeleton with flower, represented by Scorpio. The Death card represents death and rebirth, right? It represents just because something is ending, something new is always happening. So beginning and end, death and a rebirth, transformation. Scorpio represents this card. Next we have Temperance, which is represented by Sagittarius, and this represents our spirit guides, right? Inner or outer ancestors, anybody that shows up to kind of guide you, will be represented by a Sagittarius card. Next we have the Devil card, which is represented by Capricorn. This represents money. It represents the Devil represents relationships that could be possibly toxic. It represents kind of doing what you want, living in your senses, the 5 senses, feeling, seeing, touching, just indulging in things. Sometimes it could be too much, too little, depending on how you pull the card, but just money, great things. It also represents persevering through stuff, learning about yourself, mastering who you are, facing your demons, looking yourself in the eye and not being afraid, right? The Devil focuses on changing, not targeting, but kind of showing you what your toxic behaviors and patterns on, and then figuring out how to deal with them, right? Just being aware of that. Next, we have the Tower, which is the Tower card here. We see the building is on fire, and the Tower card represents everything just crumbling situations, destruction. Things have to crumble, right? Just transformation through destruction, right? Through demolishing things, right? Next we have the Star card, right, which is 17. The star is represented by Aquarius. It just represents always believing in yourself, believing that things can come true, believing in miracles. And that's pretty much what this stands for. Just shining bright like a star, just shining everybody out. Light attribute, not letting the dark overcome, so to speak. Next, we have the Moon card. The Moon represents secrets. The moon can represent your shadow self. The moon represents emotions. It's ruled by Pisces. It can represent your mental stability. It can, like I said, it can represent secrets, emotions, and just where you are emotionally, right? So that's what the moon represents. Next card I have is the Sun card. The Sun card, of course, represents the sun. It represents light attribute. It represents not being in your shadow, being in your light attribute, just being happy. Overall good card. The sun lights up everything. It gets rid of darkness. If you get the Sun card, you're in a really good place, really happy, really bright. Next, we have Judgment, which absolutely means judgment. A ruling has taken place, a decision has been made or not been made. But when we think about this card, we think about a judge, a ruling. We think about making decisions. We think about literally judging people and what they do in all aspects. And then we have the World card, which represents leveling up. If you get the World card, it means that you are leveled up, you learned something, and you've stepped up. You've developed personally, spiritually. You're just growing, and you're ready to step up to the next level. And so that's why we have the World card with a spaceship and a black hole here, okay? All right, and so now we're back to the Fool's Journey. So that was just a little mini video on the major arcana. Again, it's 22 cards, starting from 0 to 22. And that's about it. So thank you for tuning in. If you are interested in more of my videos, please comment, let me know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my profile, because these videos like this will only be available to the public for about 24 to 48 hours. And then it'll turn into subscribed content, okay? So make sure you're subscribed to me. I think it's like $4.99 or something, before monthly fee. Okay? And so I will talk to you later.